Hey everybody, I'm Reverend Jim Keat, the digital minister at the Riverside Church. This is The Word Made Fresh, the weekly video Bible study where we take a look at the upcoming lectionary passage, talk about it, and then, you know the rest, go to the comments. Okay, let's get started. This week we are back in the Gospel of Luke, because we're sticking with the Gospels for a little while. Luke chapter 19, verses 1 through 10. Now, if you watched last week's episode, spoiler alert, you kind of already know where this one's going. Zacchaeus. This is the story of Zacchaeus. Maybe you remember him from Sunday school, the wee little man. A wee little man was he, climbed up in a sycamore tree for the Lord he wanted to see. Thanks, Mom. I still remember that one. Okay, let's just take a look at the story. It goes like this. Jesus entered Jerusalem and was passing through it. Okay, pause. Interesting note. He was passing through it. He didn't go around it. He was headed through. He wasn't going to it. He was passing through it. He was going somewhere. It's not Jericho. Jericho's just on the way. Okay, keep going. A man was there named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. Okay, pause again. Like we talked about, tax collectors, they, in this first century context, were wealthy. They were often Jews. Zacchaeus would have been a Jewish person, and he was working with the Roman officials to collect taxes, setting up tolls along the roads. As you entered Jericho, various places, he would have people who collected money for him. He got the money. Everyone kind of got their cut. Pretty unethical, and they passed on some amount that they were supposed to the Roman authorities. All this led to the chief tax collector being rich. Basically, he's at the top of a pyramid scheme. So the original Ponzi right here, Zacchaeus. Okay, back to the story. He was trying to see Jesus, but on account of the crowd, he could not because he was short in stature. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree to see him because Jesus was going to pass that way. When Jesus came to the place, that is the place where Zacchaeus was climbing the tree, passing that part of the road, when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today." So Zacchaeus hurried down and was happy to welcome him. All who saw it began to grumble and said, "He has gone to the guest of one who is a sinner." Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, "Look, half my possessions, Lord, I will give to the poor, and if I have frauded anyone of anything, I will pay it back 4 times as much." Then Jesus said to Zacchaeus, "Today salvation has come to this house, for he too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek out and save the lost." Okay, let's pick up on a couple things we already kind of began touching on as we talked through the story. Zacchaeus, you've heard this story probably dozens of times back from your flannel graph days of Sunday school, but let's kind of just maybe put on some new lenses as we see it. It's easy to see this story as, way to go, Jesus, hanging out with sinners, everyone that those overly righteous people push to the margins. I mean, yes, but really, Zacchaeus was the person pushing others to the margins. This is where this story gets, I don't know, it gets tricky for me. Who would we compare a tax collector to in our world today? What about an owner of a private prison who is receiving an ongoing line of inmates from this cradle to prison pipeline perpetuated by our culture, funded by our government? How would you feel if Jesus said, "I'm going to your house today"? Or maybe if you're like me and you find yourself in predominantly liberal settings, even in our churches, imagine the person who walks in wearing a red MAGA hat. Would Jesus say, "I'm coming to your house today"? Or just our president right now, Trump. Jesus is coming to your house today? I mean, I would love that because I think he's going to turn over some tables. But the reality is, Jesus turned over tables in the spaces of worship, and then he went to the houses of those who were sometimes in the positions of power and oppression, like Zacchaeus. Now, don't get me wrong, at work, Zacchaeus has this whole turnaround moment, which, don't we wish that happened every time Jesus encountered one of these people in these positions? But imagine being one of the crowd, seeing Jesus pick that person. Of all the people, You picked him, Jesus? Because hospitality is a big deal in this culture too. It's if a stranger comes to your door, you welcome them in, you provide a meal for them. It's what it means to be a part of the culture. Granted, even in the midst of this culture, Zacchaeus is completely ripping off so many of his own people around him. Yet when the opportunity comes for a rabbi to come into his house, he says, of course, that's what you do. Who else could Jesus have bestowed this honor and this opportunity for hospitality on? And he chose Zacchaeus. So first question for us to kind of discuss, who would be the parallel for Zacchaeus in our world today? I gave a few examples, but list a few more. Who else would it be? Okay, switching gears slightly, I think it's important sometimes to realize the tense of words, past, present, future, that kind of a thing. When Jesus is at Zacchaeus' house, he says, today salvation has come to this house. Today. This kind of reflects, I think, of Jesus on the cross with the thief next to him. Today you will be with me in paradise. What Jesus is talking about in his ministry and his life is not about some future. Someday salvation will come. Someday you'll be with me. But Jesus is talking about a kind of today mentality. Makes me think, I forget who it was. Maybe someone can find this. Someone said, I was saved, I am saved, I will be saved. This sense of salvation is holistic. It includes reparations to those you have wronged. And it happens here and now in the world around us. We're not just waiting for some alien spaceship called heaven to beam us up. We are looking to bring heaven to earth. Hey, Belinda Carlisle was right. So maybe let's just sit with that one for a second in the comments. What does it mean for salvation to come to someone's house today? Whether that's the today we live in now. What is the salvation that needs to come to your house, to the houses in our society? And just what does that mean kind of philosophically? Today, salvation has come. What's that look like? What is that? I can't wait to see what you have to say. So go to it. Oh, and if you're watching this in real time, it's, Sunday, October 27th. We're having a live video Bible study on next Sunday, the first Sunday of every month, so the first Sunday of November, 9:30 Eastern Time. Go to trcnyc.org/thewordmadefresh to see the information, and there's a button you click, and that will take you right to the video call where we can all hang out at 9:30 for a little in-person online Bible study. All right, I'll see you there.